Even in the middle of the day, heavy darkness enshrouded Marlow Manor, which sat on what could be described as the highest point of land in the area. Its grandeur was all worn away, ivy crawling upon the decrepit exterior, a once masoned window staring lifelessly. They said the house was empty for years. However, people of the small town of Greystone did not even dare approach the house. Ever and anon they whispered of some dread that brooded over the home of the long ago. The fate of the Marlow family was not well understood by anybody at this time, or even the cause of their fate. Some of the respondents told me that they disappeared one day, while the others said that they were killed in horror manner. It was the sort of place that made one want to wonder. All the dense quietude suggested stories, and ahead of these, sometime soon, it would all become his. Claire Davidson, a serious-minded city-based journalist, was assigned to spend her summer in Greystone one evening, just when the summer was on its peak. She knew things about Marlow Manor and thought that it is a great idea to make a threatening story. Committed to reveal the truth about the sinister rumors surrounding the place, Claire had to stay the night at the manor. She equipped herself with a torch and a voice recorder, plus her camera, and moved closer to the house as dusk set in. Slamming the door behind her with a loud grimace, Claire inhales a huge breath, walking into the cold, stale air of the manor. Everything was adorned with the portraits in the image of the Marlow family, and their gazes appeared to follow her. Its wallpapers had started to come off, and their patches showing signs of mold and the effects of rot. Claire had that sinking feeling in her tummy that had nothing to do with the cooler weather. She started it in front of the great hall of the mansion. Stately chaises were replaced with boards, grand mirrors with stripped and grimy frames. The former resplendent chandelier was now tilted and dusty. Claire unpacked the all-important items, her camera and voice recorder, in order to document any paranormal activity. To her surprise, there were marks on the walls of the manor, symbols that seemed unfamiliar to her, written in what appeared to be congealed blood. The gloom seemed to increase the further she got inside the manor and the closer she got to the basement. She could hear the squeak the floor makes as she put each of her feet down, and it felt as if the entire house were alive and protesting her presence inside. She got to what she hoped was a library that was full of old books and spiders' webs. These words tripped perfectly atop the silence, blanketing the air like a light veil, and the only other sound that could be heard was the turning of a page. A journal, which looked very old and was leather-bound, was lying on a shelf behind a pile of dusty volumes, and this was the moment when it occurred to Claire to open the mysterious book. The cover was stamped with a weird sign that was depicted on the walls, too. She opened it apprehensively, her hands shaking. It belonged to the head of the family of Jonathan Marlow, and it contained hurried involvements and shocking words written all over the journal's pages. The dark only gets deeper. It pulls us in. It won't let go. We are lost in the dark. As Claire read the journal, she was almost in panic. Claire felt alarmed when she read the journal. That's why the entries described unusual events and the increasing presence of the dark energy that surrounded the manor. One entry stood out, a step-by-step depiction of another ritual on how to deal with the entity, and this involves a room or a chamber beneath the house. Despite these setbacks, Claire's belief that she would find this chamber was unshaken, and so she followed the directives given in the journal, which directed her to the basement. The stairs in the house made a guttural sound as she went down the stairs, with the darkness increasing as she moved. At the bottom, she observed a door that was made of iron, albeit it had the same hieroglyphics as in the other part of the manor. Taking a lot of force, she opened it up. When entering the chamber, it was unlike anything that Claire had even come across before. These ranged from odd gadgets and devices to raunchy painting of cold-blooded beasts and monsters. In the middle of the room, there was an elaborated wooden table which was most likely used for sacrificial purposes. More symbols painted on the walls had appeared to be abstract, but the message was clearly threatening.